Drop your pants and grab your ankles. It's time for Grillo's Aftershock XL with your host, Steve Grillo. How the hell did you get a TV show?
Everybody, that's the great Paul Turner. Paul Turner, if you know Howard Stern at all, he was the announcer for years. The deep, dark voice of Paul Turner was, you're listening to the Howard Stern Show. Or if you go back a little further, and if you're a Howard Stern fanatic, you know about the Howard Stern pay-per-view. He had one of my favorite introductions of all time, live from fucking Newark, the carjacking capital of the world. Paul Turner was a very good friend. He's always been good to me. Kind of like, you wouldn't think that he looks like the way he does. He kind of looks like Opie from, he looks like Ron Howard. He's got red hair and freckles. And that's the great Paul Turner. It's not exactly a TV show, but it's kind of getting there. This little podcast is growing every week. We're working hard to build a network and to make things look good. I want to thank Joe and Scott over at Pro Media, where I used to do my show. Things, obviously a little difficult right now with this lockdown and everything that's going on. But I was able to get a green screen. You can see in the background, there's the Millennium Falcon, there's the Death Star, and the Empire State Building. I'm always down to do someone's podcast. I'm always like, if I ask someone to come on, I hope to reciprocate. It's sort of a karma thing, the way I think about it. You come on my show, if I can reach out and get a couple more listeners, that's kind of cool, or whatever. But this girl Lainey called me up and she said this guy Ralph has the SDR network. And it's really easy. It's down in the East Village, but and she was very nice about her approach to me. And I said, sure, whatever. And I got invited down to come down. It was somewhere in the East Village. I don't want to disclose any addresses if I don't have to, but it was somewhere down in the East Village. And I was like, sure, whatever. And if you've ever been down in the East Village, they're like tenement buildings. They're really tall and they're old. They're from like the early 1900s, late 1800s. And it said, go down the hall, go to the back door and go out the backyard. And it was sort of like I had one of those Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe experiences where you don't know what to expect. And, I'm walking to the hall. And if you know those old buildings, they're just like the apartments. I happen to live in a nice apartment, and it's sort of a newer building. But I lived in a building that was over 100 years old. And they're really nice apartments, but, they have age to them, and they have a distinct outlook for what they are. So I didn't know what to expect. I thought maybe it was going to be something like what I'm doing in a room in an apartment. And when I walked through the door and I walked out the backyard, it was like stepping through the wardrobe where I just didn't expect what I was going to walk into. And I walked into the backyard, and there's this beautiful backyard and this professional kind of like seating area. And then you sort of turn down and you go down a couple of stairs, and then there was another wardrobe. I walked into this completely amazing high-tech studio, which I did not expect. I thought I was just going to go and sit around a table in someone's kitchen. And I walked into this high-tech, beautiful studio that could be in Sirius Satellite Radio. It could be in any major network anywhere. And I was just blown away just because I know the area, I know the apartments, and I did not expect to walk into a full 4-camera or 5-camera studio with a fishbowl where you can sit outside in the green room and watch and listen to everybody from the outside, a full control room, another podcast studio if you just want to talk in the back, a green room, a kitchen, a bathroom with a heated, you ever see those fancy toilets in Japan where it's got a computer and you can fix the heat to the toilet seat? It kind of blew me away. And this is where I met my next guest, who is my complete idol when it comes to anything in this business. And his name is Ralph Sutton, and he's here with me on my show today. And I'm very honored to have him here, considering that he is probably the pioneer and expert in anything podcast or anything when it comes to doing something on a non-network situation. And Ralph's here with me, and I'm very honored to have Ralph here.
Thank you for having me, buddy.
Yeah. So, again, you were my idol. You took a medium at the very beginning, and you realized the potential of which way this was going to go, and you took off with it and running. And I would say you're probably at the foremost as far as podcasts go. Did you call your show a podcast?
When I started, I came from radio. I did radio for almost 20 years. I had a radio show on about 95 stations syndicated nationally that I did for since I was 29 to when I was 45, right? And I just saw the writing on the wall that the money was getting less and less and less because radio was becoming less and less important. So
Yeah.
I started looking at how do I pivot, and I knew Big J Okerson, the comic, from an event that I would host every year called Shiprocked. And one thing led to another. We ended up doing the podcast together, right? He pitched an idea to me. I said, we'll do it. And for the first 3 years, we did do it in my house. We did it in my second bedroom, where I am right now, in my second bedroom. But I wanted it to be something more. So I took the idea of a syndication company. I didn't even know that podcast networks existed when we started this. I didn't know. And I didn't know anything about podcasting 6 years ago. And 4 years ago, we started Gas Digital in my apartment with 4 shows, and it grew and grew and grew. And after about a year and a half, I started looking for a studio space, and I wanted that experience. I wanted what you went through, where you don't know where the hell you're going. You enter this weird building through the back. I was looking for a speakeasy that would be a podcast. You know,
it's definitely a speakeasy. It's so cool.
Yeah, that was the vibe. And I probably looked at, no shit, 100 spaces in the course of about 4 or 5 months. Going out, I made it my full-time job, going out every day looking at spaces. They had to be the right price. There had to be an outdoor area because everybody smokes. And to finally find that space, I was so happy. And then I didn't want us to look like every podcast studio. So many of them, the wiring's all over the place, taped to the walls. Cameras are edited after the fact. So I wanted to really conceptualize it to be what I would want an ideal podcast space to look like. We got really good pan tilt zoom cameras. The microphone stands, like mine and yours right now, you can see it comes up and it's in camera. The ones I use in the studio, they come from the table so they don't block your face.
Yeah.
Everything that we try to do, even I take my biggest reward or accolade, there are these little pop-up boxes on the table that lets you plug in your headphones, control your volume, cough button like in the old radio days, and charge your cell phone or even plug in a computer. I made those custom. I found a company online and built those, and now Joe Rogan has them in his studio because he saw them in my studio.
That's cool. See, my microphones don't even plug in.
Well, it plugs in. You just have nowhere to plug it in.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm kind of working on that. I have someone that's, again, been promising me the world and has done nothing, and it's been almost 2 months. But, when someone's giving you something for free, you really can't complain. But I'm glad to have you on today because this is the premiere of my new green screen.
That's funny. I was funny when you were talking in the beginning. I was like, "Wow, that microphone sounds awful," and then I realized, "Oh, that microphone's not on." There's the answer.
Yeah. No, I've been waiting for. Apparently, these were actually studio used microphones in one of Howard Stern's studios.
Oh, cool.
And again, you can't pressure someone too much when they're giving you something for free.
Of course, they always say there's 3 options: good, fast, and cheap, and you can only get 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly. So they keep promising me the world. So I'm gonna stay steady and just hopefully get that. If not, I'm gonna have to find some way to invest into something real.
Well, let me ask you this: if that mic plugs in somewhere, why not just plug in that mic instead of whatever mic you're using?
Because apparently my producer got it and he tested it out and he says it sounds god awful.
Oh, it doesn't work. Okay, you're doing it for the aesthetics. I got.
Yeah. This is total aesthetics.
Okay, gotcha.
But you showed up my inspiration and where I realized that someone can actually do this. You can do it on your own, and you've been nothing but good to me, offering me some really sound advice. And I had some people in the beginning that I had to filter out, and I think you kind of remember the people that you met that promised me that they knew what they were doing and they didn't. So I'm at the stage where I know you said to get to get on Apple TV. I'm on. So as of right now, as we speak, and I know this is what you told me a while ago, and I didn't realize how detailed it was or how much it took to get there. But I'm on Apple TV. I'm on Stitcher. I'm on iHeartRadio. I'm on Spotify. All those things that you told me to do. I finally reached that goal.
Right. And, if you want to be where anyone's looking for you, you want to be found.
Yeah. And, because and the whole point of this is monetization.
Of course.
And now, I hopefully, if I can get you to talk to my producer, Noah, who's really the brains behind the operation. I'm just the mouth. That, it's because the people that, unfortunately, that you did come out and you did good sound advice, they were sort of lying to me about what they knew about the whole situation, and they really didn't.
Mm-hmm. I think that the funny thing is, though, it's great to watch because it's still, podcasting, I would say, realistically started about 15 years ago, right? Yeah. So when you look at comparative to radio or television or movies, it is by far the newest form of entertainment 50 years, by 50 years, so it's still very much birthing a new platform. And what's good about it is that every few months, I notice the barrier to entry is getting easier and easier. It used to be that even if you only had a few hundred listeners, good luck on getting advertising. Now there's companies that have figured out a way, which they used to do in radio, where they would sell network advertising. So they just, whatever your listenership is, you get that prorated amount. So you can make some sort of money. You don't need 50,000 listeners anymore to get sales. It used to be so much harder to get everywhere. Now you can do it. Anybody can do it, which I love about this platform is that it's becoming more and more accessible every single day.
Yeah, and there's also algorithms that I don't understand. Where as far as when you broadcast, how long you broadcast, and now and how it trips up people to continue to listen to you, or how they follow through on listening to you, and every day you should do like a 10-minute video of something, and just make sure it's on a cycle and it keeps going.
You can look on your Instagram. There's a statistics page that'll always show you the most active time for whoever's following you. It aggregates it so you get an idea of, oh, this is when the most people that I connect with are on Instagram, which means that's probably the best time to share a clip.
Well, so here's now exactly why I'm doing this tomorrow night instead of tonight, because there is that statistic. So, but what was supposed to happen tonight, which didn't, was I was also going to have one of my really, really good friends, Little Marty Kleba, who was in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
And, he was in a million different movies. He's probably maybe one of the most famous little person actors to date. But, I could had a limited time to get him. I had a limited time to get you. I'd rather do a live show than a tape show. And I wanted to do a live show, but, just corralling you and him together, this is where it sort of happened. But if I would have went live right now, I wouldn't have hit any numbers.
Right.
And so I just figured, okay, I'll tape it and either put it up at 6:00, which is sort of drive time, or, now, my producer Noah is like a genius at all this. He's like, let's just tape it and put it up tomorrow. I could edit it and make it a little better.
Right, of course.
So he could edit in pictures of your studio and your book and everything like that, which we're going to get to. And so I just think there is a pattern and a method to getting the most people to watch your show. Now, I would guess that you're probably not on YouTube.
We are.
You are, because all right. So here's because it's my whole concept in the beginning of this. It actually started off in my head as a contest, because Howard Stern has sort of fallen off his old shock jock ways. The way he was when I worked for him, the person that we both listened to and were like, oh my God, I can't believe he just got away with that, or he just did that. He sort of like softened up and became like that person.
He's also 60 something, right? I mean,
but you know what I'm saying? He also became the person that he used to make fun of.
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm playing devil's advocate, I don't think we took an old bit from Howard Stern, which I didn't realize Howard did it, because while I was always a crazy fan.
Was it anal ring toss?
Anal ring toss, right? And what we added to it was the loser. It was 3 people. The 2 losers had to, when they pull the ring toss device, they had to kiss it. The 2 losers had to kiss it. So that was like our little twist on it, right? And we try to do things that are out there and crazy every now and then. I hope I'm not doing that when I'm 70. I think that would be weird.
I think, and I'll get to the point. I think when I'm 70, I want to be doing something like that.
Maybe. I guess it all depends on how you're wired.
I'm wired like that.
I know. I love the idea for, I would say I took a page out of Howard's book of that. What made me go back to Howard every week was that you never knew, is this going to be a batshit crazy show, or is it going to be a really powerful interview, or is it going to be a band playing live? You never knew what was going to happen.
Well, that's what I loved. People always would ask me is like, what was it like working there? And I said, you want to know why I love working there? Is because every day I got to work, I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right. That's what we try to do.
Every day was not the same day.
Yeah, we really go out of our way to not book too many kind guests in a row. So it's always something different.
So
let me say one other thing in relation to YouTube. So you want to be on YouTube because it is the second biggest search engine on the planet after Google, right? So people are searching. If you have your clips up there, you have your show up there. That's why you want to be there, so people can find you. You always, as I said over and over again, you want to be where people are looking. The negative on YouTube is twofold. One, you can get kicked off pretty easily on YouTube, especially
Like
when you do a show like yours or a show like mine. So we have to very much edit what goes up on YouTube. That's number one. Number two, I don't monetize my YouTube because I don't want more eyes on it from their perspective. But also the payout rates, the universal term is a CPM rate, cost per thousand, from a podcast to a YouTube show. Podcast is about 10 times higher than a YouTube show. So it's better to have 1,000 podcast listeners than 10,000 YouTube views. So it just means you can make more money. So I'm more interested in cultivating that podcast platform. YouTube is just ancillarily up there because it should be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. So again, like I was sitting in my bed one morning staring at the ceiling, and I just thought, who's going to take his place? And I didn't think it would be me. Like I was more like the whole, and then I started thinking like shock jock, so who's going to take his place after?
Mhm.
Who's after shock jock? So like that's after shock. That's where I got the
that.
idea. That's where I got the name. So it was more of a contest, like a national contest, that I had an idea who could take his place, and I sort of broke it down into a one sheet, and then I just realized, and I brought it to Tim Sabian, and he, at that point he was working at Westwood One, and I thought maybe it'd be kind of a fun sort of national podcast competition of who can take his place, and they get a contract, this and that, blah blah blah, and then it was just too much of an undertaking. And as much as I love Tim Sabian, he's got a million plates spinning, so he really couldn't sit down and grasp the concept. So then I said, well, I don't have to be and fill his shoes. I was looking for someone more outrageous, sort of like kind of like would be you, but you don't need that competition. And then I just said, I'm just going to embrace it and make it my own. And that's where I got, but Aftershock sort of had so many different hashtags to it. I said, well, why don't I go one a little further and go one bigger, XL. So, which is where I came up with the concept of my thing. But, in the beginning, when I did start doing it, I tended to do a little more titty jokes and started like, Delaney had a couple of porn stars on and stuff like that. And by the way, she's fantastic. I love her.
Yeah,
so
she's
much.
great. She's really awesome.
And she's very talented. And so I was going that way. And then I just realized that, I couldn't do it on YouTube. They're just not going to allow you.
No, you cannot.
And I had to reinvent myself into something more of working on the interviews and talking to people and making shit interviewing. I had to learn how to shut up. That's another thing. So that's where sort of this came to birth. And now I'm trying to get my own studio. I have a couple of shows on my network. How many shows do you have on your network, and how do you manage them?
We have 22 shows on the network. You go to gasdigitalnetwork.com/schedule, and you can see every show that's on there. Some are more than once a week. Some are just once a week. For a while, we had a show that was just twice a month, but right now, every show is at least once a week. We don't bring on a lot of shows. Like, to me, the most I ever wanted was 25 shows. I would never want more than 25 because I think that shows start getting lost in the shuffle. When my radio show first signed to a syndication deal, we signed with one of the bigger syndication companies. We were one of, I'm going to say, 250 shows. And nothing happened in that first 6 months. Nothing. So I went out personally and signed five stations on the East Coast by driving up and down the East Coast. And I fired my syndication company, then went to a smaller company that I was one of 6 shows or something like that. And then that guy really cared about me because I was one of his properties, one of the people that he really cared about. We grew to almost 100 stations, right? So I look at our network the same way. Even now with 22, sometimes I feel that some of the shows are not getting my attention the way I'd like to, but there's only so many hours in the day. I try to meet with every single show at least once a quarter personally. I try to listen to every show at least 10 minutes every week to see what they're doing, to get an idea and make notes. And we have staff meetings every week with all the producers and try to keep everybody to feel like they're part of something, as opposed to just saying, okay, you're signed to the network, and that just means you're on a network and it doesn't do anything else for you.
Okay, so now you have 25 shows. That's got to be a lot to manage. So when you sign them, is it sort of like the same thing as a radio contract where there's a salary involved and stuff like that?
For us, what we do, which is funny, is, well, first of all, just to go back on one of your other points I wanted to bring up, I think it's insane that SiriusXM did not try and have other people on that channel for the last 10 years that were potential fill-ins, like the guys that would be like, once Howard Stern's show ended at whatever 10 o'clock, right? They would put on somebody else to just try them out for a year to cultivate someone to take over when he left that Howard liked, that they could groom. Can't believe that never happened. It's too late now, but that should have been going on for the last 10 years. To go back to what you were saying, we give every show a small base based on, if they're a new podcast, there's a starting rate. But if they're a pre-existing podcast, it's based on how many listeners they already have. Because there is a cost for us to bring them on, because we host all of our own video, we host all of our own audio. It's very expensive, right? So
there's got to be an engineer, there's got to be editing,
and producer, engineer, graphics. There's a lot to it. So for years, the network is 4.5 years now, but for the first 3.5 years, there was no contracts. It was, if you don't want to be here, we don't need you here. If you want to leave, leave. But then twice, I'm not going to say names, we help build up these shows, get them huge followings, because the network has a lot of listeners. And when we bring on a new show, every show talks about them. So they get a huge bump. And twice, the show took that new bump, those new graphics, the new video, and they just left us, which sucks, right? So now we have a 1-year agreement with everybody. But at the end of that agreement, if the show decides to leave, they get everything. They get their graphics, they get their video. We don't own anything. I would never do that to a creator. I would never do that. Gas Digital is built on creator first, fan second, Lewis and I third. that's the way we look at it. We want, that's the hierarchy of importance. So they get a base pay, they get advertising money, they get money for every subscriber to the network that they get, as long as that subscriber stays subscribed. And then we have a subcategory of, we do merch for some of the shows. Not all of them, because some of them have exclusive licensing deals already, but we do merchandise for some of the shows. So those 4 channels to make money.
That's pretty sick. So now, were all the shows based out of your studio, or were some of them doing it from their home?
A couple of them, well, nowadays, 80% of them are doing them from their home. But if we go back pre-COVID, there's 2 shows in LA and 2 shows that are rock guys that are on the road a lot, so they would do it on the road. But the other shows are in the studio.
Yeah, and you got some pretty major guests. Like like I know you had Mark Cuban on, and you got
Ray Romano on, Mark Cuban on. We've had a lot of major on SDR. We've gotten this year. Zoom has been very good for getting guests.
Yeah, no doubt.
Made it a lot easier. But so we've gotten, like tonight, I'm taping with the band Wolf Mother. They're coming on. I love that band. We have Pete Holmes on next week. We got a lot of great guests on SDR. The network's had some huge guests too. And as far as the network's biggest properties, we have Michael Bisping, the UFC middleweight champ, is on the network.
He's a badass motherfucker.
He's great. We have the singer of Hatebreed, Jamie Josta, the singer of Machine Head, Rob Flynn. They both have shows on the network. We try to have a nice mix of some rock, some music, some sports, comedy, lifestyle, and dating, a little bit of everything. Every show is a little more, I don't want to say raunchy or whatever, but they definitely are not for mainstream, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I know you get a lot of my favorite porn stars on there.
Yeah, we just had Sasha Grey on last week.
Now, you know why? Not only is she sexy and filthy, but she's actually highly intelligent.
She's great. Yeah, I really liked her a lot. Sasha Grey was awesome. The episode's killing. My God, do people love her? Like that episode out of the gate got, like, I think the first 3 days that episode came out beat what a show that's out for a month has. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I was reading that on your Facebook page. Now, you wrote a book, correct?
Well, yes and no. This is the book right here, right? It is called The 100% Guaranteed Guide to Weight Loss and Fitness by me, Ralph Sutton, right? And it was actually, which I can't believe it got to, the top 100 of Amazon for health and fitness and stuff. So I do another podcast called Good Sugar. And it's not a funny podcast, although it might be amusing once in a while. It literally is about health and wellness. And it's about the founder of Juice Press, which if you live in New York, it's a huge company.
He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, Mark.
One of the originals was about, like, on 11th Street and 2nd Avenue.
Yeah.
And I used to go there all the time, and he was there every day. He was a hands-on owner. Mm-hmm. And I remember my friend used to have Pure Food and Wine, Sarma, and they when she ran out of green juice, they would help each other.
Yeah,
and
always.
He was always a very nice guy and successful. They're all over the place now.
90 locations. He sold it to a company back in last January, and he wanted to start doing something else. And the concept of the show was, let's make me a better person. Okay, let's make Ralph Sutton a better person, because at the time I was 60 pounds heavier than I am right now.
I see that. I watch you. I track your running, man. You're insane.
Yeah, I ran 6 miles yesterday, my fastest run ever. But we brought on a lot of people. Like, speaking of Pure Food and Wine, the chef there, Matthew Kenny, was just on the show a few weeks ago. And,
okay, I'm also friends with Tara Puzon, who was also one of the chefs.
We're also the chefs too, yeah. And we also have like the founder of P90X was on. Kevin Hart's trainer, that guy Boss, was just on. Like, we get a lot of interesting people talking about health and wellness. And really, I started laughing one day because, yes, there's a mental side to it. Like, your mental health and wellness is a different category to me, although Marcus would disagree. He thinks it's all interconnected, and I agree with that. But, you got to start fixing one. So I boiled it down to really everyone was saying the same thing. And so I decided to write a book about it. So I'm going to hold it up. It says The 100% Guaranteed Guide to Weight Loss and Fitness, right there. Chapter 1, Eat Less. Chapter 2, Work Out More. Oh, there we go. And then the rest of the book is blank. And it really, I guarantee I will give you your money back if you can prove that doesn't work. So it really was an idea for Christmas time, like a stocking stuffer, a secret Santa. Any of your friends who have the same New Year's resolution every year and they don't do anything about it. Yeah. This is a stock photo that we found online that was free to use. And, so that was the idea. And it sold well.
Hysterical. That's fine. That's fucking awesome.
Yes, I did write a book, Steve, but not really.
Yeah. Okay. No, but that's genius. Geniuses write books, and you wrote a very, very smart book. It's funny that you would bring that up because I'm pretty much at that stage right now. What you're talking about has been like, I just recently saw a couple of pictures of, I was out a couple of days and I saw a couple of pictures of myself and I was like, I'm in the process of, that's it. I'm kind of done. You know what I'm saying? Like, I saw in the past, since COVID, it's been sort of stuck in a rut, sort of a pattern where it's just kind of like, okay, everybody, let's go meet up and have a drink and shit like that. And I'm making a conscious effort to cut back. I got a bike and I'm going to start riding bike. Yeah, I know. I got it yesterday and I'm going to start riding.
You picked the wrong month to start bike riding.
What though? I got enough gear. I have a motorcycle. So if you're not going 60 miles an hour in this kind of weather, it's not as bad. So I get it. I know how to gear up, but I got to start moving. I was an athlete, since I was 13 years old. And I just always said I would never get to this point, and now I'm at that point.
I don't want to bring the show down to a misery point, but 5 years ago, my father got sick, and he died 4 years ago, right? And once he started getting sick, I used to get up every morning and go to the gym or go work. I do something physical. It turned to get up in the morning and go to the hospital, right? And especially when he got to hospice, every day they give you cookies and ice cream because they know you're watching your loved one pass away. And I went, and all my life, I was roughly the same weight, between 235 and 245 for my entire adult life. I'm 6'6". I'm a big dude. I shouldn't be lower than 230 ever. And I went up to about 280, right? And I was like, oh my God, that's 280. But that was pre-COVID. Then I got to fucking 296. 296 was in April or May. And I was like, all right, I can't hit 3 bills. That's crazy. And that was the day that I said, I need to change this. So that's when I really started focusing. That's when Good Sugar started happening weekly. And then I said, I'm making the change. What I loved about the Good Sugar podcast is it gives me accountability. I got to go in every week and explain what I ate, what I've been doing. Have I been meditating? Have I been running? And I talk about what I've been doing. So it really made me feel like, I can't go in. I'm not going to fucking lie. So I'm going to go and just really start doing it. And it changed my life. So now from 296, as of yesterday, I was 267. So I'm 20 pounds away from where I used to be 5 years ago.
Congratulations, brother. I see what you're doing and you're working hard. And I'm slowly starting to get back into that because I know once I start seeing results and once I start getting that physical rush, then I'll start diving into it. It's sort of that wrestling mentality. We'll just sort of jump back in. But when you stay away from it for a really long time, it's really hard.
It's really hard.
You know what I'm saying? And plus, I have a lot of really good friends, especially in this neighborhood, and we're all drinking buddies, and especially now everything's closed and nothing else to do. But let's go to your place, let's go to my place, And I made a conscious effort this week to like really kind of back off. I only like really had one day this week so far where because someone came in from out of town that I haven't seen in a long time and had a hard night that night. But the rest of the week I've been staying in, and I also, instead of ordering out, I went shopping and I bought food that I can make. I got an air fryer for Christmas from
Love the air fryer. Big fan of the air fryer.
I had so much fun with the air fryer. Every night it's something different. I've been eating half of what I have, or maybe eating a little portion here and then waiting a little portion there. And I know my problem is sugar. Forget about drugs and alcohol. Sugar.
It's more addictive. It actually is more addictive.
I can go a day without alcohol or drugs or anything like that. But like when I eat something, I immediately have that sugar craving where it's just I don't have the craving to do those other things. I do it because I enjoy it.
Right.
But I have a craving for sugar that is so overwhelming.
Well, the trick is, which I learned more from doing Good Sugar, is that the reason why it's called the Good Sugar Podcast is that you think that every sugar is bad for you. It's not true. There are good sugars. So just like things you think might be bad for you are not, and things that might be good for you are not. So there are healthier sugars you can go to that will satisfy the craving, like frozen grapes or frozen bananas. You put bananas in a blender and it definitely will make you feel like you're getting something. And then you do that long enough, you can train your brain to crave that. I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of fucking up here and there. I had a cookie today, a big black and white cookie, because I was just feeling a little run down today. And I'm like, screw it, one day off, and don't dwell on the mistake. I had the cookie. It made me feel good for 10 minutes. Then I got annoyed with myself, but I allowed it to happen. Because I think if you deny yourself those cravings for so long, what will happen is you're going to go in, balls deep into 3 or 4 desserts in a row.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's I got like, before I decide, after I saw, like, I had it from last week. Sometimes it's easy to get a pint of ice cream and then you just wind up, like, you get halfway through it and you can't stop and you eat the whole pint. And to eat a quarter at a time is really hard because it's so delicious.
Right, so, of course. So the answer is don't buy the fucking ice cream. That's the
I know, but like, I had it in there before I saw the pictures of myself over the weekend.
Yeah, the hardest thing for me is just having Seamless and Uber Eats, because anything you want will come to your house in 20 minutes. It's very hard to say no to that.
Yeah, it's also what's a Drizzly too.
yeah, for sure. The one I recommend to everybody is there's an app called C25K. The letter C, the number 2, the number 5, the letter K, and it stands for Couch to a 5K, right? So I am 51 years old. I never ran, until I was 50, right? And I mean by running, like not in it like playing basketball or there's some running involved, but I mean running for the purpose of running. Never did it, right? 50 years old is the first time I started, and it is a app that you put in your headphones. You trigger it. It's about 8 or 9 weeks, and the idea is to get you from a couch to a 5K. You're not moving at all. Let's get you to do 3 miles. That's basically what it is. Yeah. And in the beginning, it starts with like 20 seconds running, a minute walk, 20-second run, minute walk, something like that. And that was difficult. And it was for 20 minutes. That's how it started. And as I said, yesterday, I ran 6 miles at a 10-minute mile. And the week before, I ran 12 miles. And that's 2 hours and change of running continuously. Yeah. When I first was able to run, my average mile was 15 minutes, which is almost walking, let's be honest. And now I'm doing 10, 11-minute miles, which is an admirable pace for a 51-year-old guy who's 6'5".
Yeah, you are a big fucking dude.
Yeah. And also, as I lose weight, I'm able to run faster because there's just less of me moving.
Yeah, absolutely. So my college team captain at Hunter for wrestling, his name is Brian Mirabella, and he was always ripped and shredded and stuff like that. He was a big weightlifter. He had a life transformation and started this thing called quantum physics, where it's not even just about weightlifting. It's more about mind, spirit, body kind of thing. He's very spiritual, and he started a program probably like 2 or 3 years ago about breathing, about the oxygen and the carbon dioxide levels in your body. And I signed up, and I did sort of a trade where I was doing – I was doing this program and doing like a daily, report and stuff. And it did this breathing exercise at night before you go to sleep. And it was kind of intoxicating. You don't realize how your breathing and your oxygen levels really can affect your body. And at some point towards the end of the program, which I never thought was possible, because it's basically you're listening and it's coaching you through the breathing exercise. Mm-hmm. And by the end, I was almost holding my breath for 3 minutes.
Well, yeah, I can't do that, but I get that. I mean, there's a great book you could read called Breathe, and it's all about that. And the most logical thing is I get annoyed when it gets a little too hippy dippy. I like science. That's just who I am, right?
Yeah.
On Good Sugar, Marcus is much more into the metaphysical aspect of it, and a lot of people that are into this are. But when you think about breathing in, a lot of people breathe through their mouth, and if you think about your nose, there's all these filters in those hairs and filters in your nose specifically designed to filter out the garbage when you breathe in. So most people you should consciously breathe in through your nose, and then there's some documentation that thinks breathing out through your nose is better also. So what he suggests, which is crazy, I haven't tried this yet, but he says you should tape your mouth closed at night with a special tape that allows you to like move a little bit. It's a surgical tape type thing. He names it in the book, and you get used to breathing more through your nose. And he says in a month's time, you'll be shocked at how much more energy you have.
Yeah, so as of February 8th, I signed up for his new breathing techniques. He actually does research with free divers. He had a free diver on his. He has
That's
a little.
cool.
So he's done a lot of research on his breathing techniques. So it's also again, I had to make a leap and take a step. And he signed me up for the course. And I know if I don't follow through on the course, he'll find me on the street and he'll beat my ass.
Yeah, I love that. I love accountability is the best thing in the world. My trainer, one day, this is before COVID, I was walking down the street holding an ice cream, and he snuck up behind me and knocked that out of my hands.
Yeah, that'll be Brian. You know what I'm saying? So I signed up for it's quantum physics. I guess you could do a little research and check him out. He's actually gone to several. Brian was like the tough guy, good looking guy in the team. Like he was like he could do more push-ups. Like we would wrestle practice for like 2 hours, and then at the end we do a half an hour of intense training, more like for your cardio and everything. And basically it'd be a half an hour of jumping rope, and then do push-ups, half an hour jump, 10-minute jumping rope, then do squat thrusts, and it would just be like and we were like Brian could do more push-ups than anybody I could ever see, and it was just ridiculous. Yeah. But he's gone through spiritual levels. Like Brian was like the tough guy, and he had an ego and stuff, and he's lost all that since we were in college, which is like 100 years ago. And he's actually a fruitarian.
That's a hard one to pull off.
And he's, he goes, once a month, he goes to like 3 days of fasting, and he's also spiritual and so on point. And, and he's like completely a different person and still completely ripped. He looks really young. He looks really good, and he's got everything together. And, so he's like been a spiritual guide for me and helping me, because it's like, he was inspirational when we were on the wrestling team in Hunter. Now it's sort of, he's slowly guiding me into what I need to be, because I've definitely fallen off for who I used to be, and I need to get back on track with that.
Yeah, I tell you that I'm so excited for myself, because I don't see myself slowing down anytime soon. When I get back to the 250s, I'm going to be so happy. Like the joy, I wish we all could remember this, because everyone knows this feeling. 5 seconds after you're done working out, that feeling of euphoria that, oh, I just finished that, is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And if we all could remember that feeling when you say no to going to the gym, or say no to running, or say no to, when I did like that 6-mile run yesterday, I was happy all day, because like, no matter what else I do today, I fucking did that. So that is an accomplishment. I don't need to do anything else. I feel good about finishing that.
Yeah, I completely understand. What's on the horizon? Have you been having? No, because obviously this is an issue for the studio situation, and I don't know what you're doing about this current state that we're in about sterilization and everything like that. I might have but the company I used to work for, Bright Shot, has now gone into the sterile air business, and they have a lot of things like that. I don't know. Are you having people come in and record at the studio? And
so right now it's
sterilizing everything.
The easiest thing, first of all, is that for my show, SDR, that we're very guest dependent. Nobody's coming into New York right now. No comics are traveling. Yeah. No musicians are traveling. It limits. We're doing 99% of the shows via Zoom, right? But the studios are open. So we have a protocol in the studios to make sure that we adhere and make sure everyone feels safe. Every studio gets disinfected in between each show, which includes taking off the mic thing, spraying them with Lysol, wiping down all the tables. Everybody wears masks and gloves when they're there, and so our staff. And then at night, we have the defogger that we defog the whole studio, and that's got to sit overnight. And we do that every night until the next day. And that's the most we can do. Plus, we limit how many people can be in each studio. The big studio can easily handle 6 people. There's never more than 3. The small studio can handle 4 people. There's never more than 1. So right now, and there's never more than 2 producers. Those type of things is the most we can do. We can't shut down. You know, we were shut down for a while, but right now we have to stay open. There's still people renting the studio from time to time. We got to do what we can to keep the network going. So we've implemented these procedures, and it's the most we can do.
Yeah, I'll send you some information about what Air Effect is doing and stuff like that. There's air filtration system that you could hook up that will purify the air in the whole entire.
It works through a regular HVAC. It works through a regular.
Yeah, and then also UVC lights that would if you put the light if you like put the light on in the studio and you left and came back 15 minutes later, everything in the room will be sterilized.
That's cool.
So it's defogger. So I'll send you that information because they just got the first 2 new units, and the units where they nicknamed them Rosie. But basically, it's I wish Noah, can you jump on here and add a little information on what's going on for Ralph? Because Noah's one of the geniuses behind all that. I guess he might be parking his car, but it's ionization of. There you go, Noah. You want to explain to Ralph what's going on?
Yeah, I am parking my car, but yeah. So it's an air filtration system. You're right, and it's got a HEPA 12 filter, MERV 13 filter in it, and it goes through a UVC light chamber at 254 nanometers. So it's killing the virus.
How big is the unit?
What's that?
How big is the unit?
I think I've actually got a picture right here. It's a mobile unit. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Here it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's got like a little chimney, and
pretty big.
Yeah. So yeah, it is pretty big, and you can duct from it. And we've got this whole thing on the horizon right now with this big laboratory in Prague, where they're going to develop this cold plasma unit, which is going to inactivate viruses at 0.01 microns in size, which is what COVID is sized at. So we're hoping
COVID is 0.01. I thought it was bigger than that. Are you sure?
It can vary. So the smallest it can be is 0.01. So we're going for the small. We're trying to get the smallest particle size, but it can be a little bigger than that. So hopefully within the next month we're going to be rolling these out.
What I would love to see is something that attaches to a pre-existing HVAC that you just slap on and it works inside your heating air conditioning. That way you don't have to bring anything into the studio. That would be ideal. Yeah,
we've been attempting that. We went with the mobile first, and we're trying to redesign to slim it down and hopefully install it into existing HVACs as well.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal. I would get that in a heartbeat.
It was created for the purpose right now for TV and film.
Right, because they're mobile. Yeah, for us, we're in a pre-existing studio. I would love to just slap something in the outside. I've been looking. I couldn't find anything that wasn't just a big other unit, and I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's what's going on. I'm a partner at Bright Shot, and I love everybody over there, and they've been nothing but good to the show and to me. And they realized during COVID they got to take it to the next level. I do have some other people that have helped me out, like my buddy Richard Frinzi, that's Sharp Tax Management. He's my accountant, but he's been a good person and helped me out and sponsored me at the beginning and everything like that. And then, you're rock and roll and shit. So they use my rings. Wait, here's my buddy Alfie at Sterling Assault.
Oh, that's great! Wow, that is really cool.
It's all custom, but he's done an Anya mask.
How much is a custom silver ring? I'd take one in a minute.
You know what? You talk to my boy Alfie, and I'll put you in touch with him.
Yeah, I would love to get an SBR ring. That'd be really cool. I would do that.
Yeah, no. He used to. If you know Lower Manhattan on McDougal Street, his family had owned Saint Magnifique.
Oh yeah, I remember that place. Of course.
So that was his uncle and his father. His uncle ran it, and his father became his apprentice. A famous story where, unfortunately, they came to rob his uncle, and his uncle wouldn't give anything up. And they shot and killed him in the store. And then this is probably back in the late 70s, early 80s. And then Alfie's father took over, God rest his soul, who was a wonderful guy and who I was really good friends with. And plus Alfie. And then Alfie learned from his father. And then Alfie took over the store. And then you know how NYU took over that whole block.
Right, yeah.
And, after Alfie's father passed away, he went and just now he's doing everything online. And if you go to sterlingassault.com, you can see all the awesome. You can order from there, but if you want something custom, I'll give you
Yeah.
Alfie's number, and you tell him that I sent you over, and he'll take very good care of you.
Yeah, I'd love to see how much one of those. I'd love to get an SDR ring.
You're my boy. He'll take care of you.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to that, my friend.
Yeah, no, I will. I'll send you over his number as soon as we get out of here. You call him and say, I'm Steve Grillo's idol. He told me to call you.
Sure. I'm no problem. If it gets me a discount, I'll say anything.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. It means a lot that you show me some love. And everybody go buy his so-called book if you want to fuck with someone that needs to get off the couch.
Well, I think it's what it is. It's for if you have a friend that's forever been saying, I need to lose a few pounds.
Yeah.
Send him that book right there.
Yeah, and they can find it where, on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. Follow me everywhere at I Am Ralph Sutton. My show, The SDR Show, everywhere at The SDR Show, or Good Sugar is goodsugar.life. And, Gas Digital Network at Gas Digital.
Yeah, I'm telling you, check out what this guy's doing. He's doing everything right. I'm modeling all my shit after him. I do have almost 5 shows on my network, which is hard to juggle at this point because one of them is a psychopathic cross-dressing trans person, Miss Elegante. I told you about her.
You're talking about her, yeah.
Yeah. She'll be more than willing to come on and do your show, by the way.
I think it's more when we go back into the studios.
Yeah, okay. But also I could, if you want, I could hook her up here. She could do it here.
Right, but I did in general. When I do enjoy more of the, I hate to say this term, but like more out there guests. Is that a better way to put it? Like in person.
I don't think you could. She's basically Uranus.
Yeah, that's right.
She's that far out there.
Yeah, it's more fun to do that in studio. I just feel.
Yeah, no, definitely. Jennifer Flowers, she had a little surgery, so she's healing up from there. But Jennifer Flowers has the show, and Smoothini, and then also Jesse Nash, Coffee and Conspiracy Theories, who's getting ready to tape a big show on February 14th. But did you remember the China Club?
Of course, I used to go there a lot.
So we're doing we're figuring it out because it could possibly be the beginning of a very cool documentary where one of them, I was a staple of the China Clubs, especially on Monday night. So Jesse brought Chris Saleo, who was the GM, and Danny Freed, who was the owner, on for a show. And the show was so interesting and so compelling that we realized we had something bigger, and we never got the chance to broadcast it. And there's so many celebrities and so many people that were influential in the club business. They all want to do something and say something about the China Club, and everybody has a favorite story.
Let me tell you one thing. I had no juice back then to get in. I was not that I have any juice now, but so what I would do, because it was Monday nights, was when China Club mattered, right?
Yeah, around the corner. The line was around the corner.
The doors would open at 8 p.m., but really nobody came in until at least 11 or 12. And then it was like really popular from 1 to 5 in the morning. That's when it was really, jumping. So I knew I could not get in. Me and my friend, we were 2 dudes. We would go in at 8 p.m. and we would sit there for 6 hours, 5 hours, and just wait till it got busy. And what we would do is I'd order a drink and I'd give the bartender $100 tip. And I'd say, remember me later. And then the rest of the night, I could get drinks, over 5 people at the bar because he remembered me from earlier. And that was the only way I could get into fucking China Club back then.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I forget who made the introduction, but, I was like 19 years old. And the guys at the door, Jimmy Vernetti and Kevin, they love me. So, there would be a line around the block, and I would just, finagle my way under these people and go, hey, what's up? And they were like, get in here,
Of course. Johnny? Johnny was a doorman that now owns the Back Room. He owns about 3 other restaurants and bars in New York. But he was a doorman at the China Club.
I'm sure I must have. If you gave me a last name,
yeah, I don't know his last name. He's a friend.
But I jumped on. I was like, the best thing is everybody's got a favorite story at the China Club. Mine was I got everybody in there from K-Rock, and somehow or another, Frank Beard, who's the drummer from ZZ Top, the only one that doesn't have a beard, wound up hanging out with us because we were everybody had long hair and leather jackets, and we were all having. And he's a good old boy. And I don't remember at the bar, there was a bar and there was a step down at some point.
Yeah, of course.
And then one of our guys had he didn't realize it, and he walked backwards and he fell off the step and he knocked into a drink to some Guido. And the Guido, it spilt on him. And my guy was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me buy another drink. And this Guido wasn't having it. And this Guido, it came to nose to nose. And Frank Beard, the drummer from ZZ Top, is like, let's go, boys. It's time to roll. He was ready to roll.
That's great. That's so cool.
Yeah, and he was like, fuck these boys. They ain't fucking with my friends, And I was like, oh, shit. But I realized how bad it was. And I ran and got the bouncing staff, and they threw the guys out. And the guy comes back to me and he goes, "You owe me one, Grillo." I was like, "Why?" He goes, "That was fucking Angelo Ruggiero, John Gotti's nephew. I just threw."
Oh my God, that's crazy.
So it was almost like a weird mob war. And real quick, I'll end this on this great story. And these are the stories that are all on Jesse Nass's show with the China Club. Chris Saleo's favorite story was the fact that Sam Kinison came in one night. And he was fucked up, and he was Sam Kinison. And now it's 6 o'clock in the morning. The door's locked, and there's blow all over the bar. And Sam's sniffing the blow. But the staff wants to leave. I was like, okay, that's enough. And then it was like, so they go. And it's, the bathrooms were outside. So he went to the bathroom and they locked the door and they all kind of hid. And then all of a sudden they hear on the glass door. And all of a sudden they look, and Sam's got a gun out and he's about to blow.
Oh my God.
And his guy, Carl LeBeau, was like, "No, Sam," and they left. So now Chris is like, "Oh my God, Sam Kinison almost just blew the door off." And he goes, so now they do all the work they got to do. And he goes, "It's 7 o'clock. The sun's coming up, and I'm walking past the newsstand, and he sees the front cover of the paper: Sam Kinison, clean and sober, 100 days." Like he literally he did his 100 days within the China Club and did blow all that.
That's hilarious. That is fucking great.
But on that note, brother, thank you so much. If you don't mind, I'm going to put you in touch with Noah. I'm sure he'd love to pick your brain a little bit.
Sure, of course.
All right, cool. We'll figure that out. He'll text you, and you guys can figure out a time to sit down and talk. Now that we've actually done what you told me about a year ago.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I knew I had to get it done. I just had to find the right person, and I did everything like that with Noah because he already looked into your website, and he was just like, "Yeah, I need to ask him questions." So
no problem. I'm a big advocate of sharing knowledge.
That's cool, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate you coming on my show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, cool. And everybody, you can check me out on Twitter at Steve Gorillo, Instagram, Gorillo Vader. You know where to find me. You know where to do everything. And everybody have a wonderful, peaceful weekend. Stay safe. Hope your family's good. And I'll see you soon, everybody, hopefully. Look, they got the green screen. Empire State Building, Death Star, TIE Fighters, Millennium Falcon. It's all good. We're moving on up. As soon as we get microphones, I'll be happy.